Do you work with different conversion events in GA4? For instance, you have contact form submissions, you have newsletter signups, you have quality visits. Well, showing the total amount of conversions is not really useful. You want them separately. You want to see the total amount of contact form submissions, you want to see the total amount of newsletter signups, and you want to see the total amount of quality visits. Not all in one metric, you want to see them separately. Well, this is the video for you. Welcome to the channel, my name is Leon. This channel exists to help you become a better decision maker in your daily work using your data. And in this video I'm going to show you how to go from the total amount of conversions into separate metrics for each conversion. If you do what I teach in this video, you will be able to add every conversion separately into your home screen. Well, are you ready? Let's go. Before we start, let's ask an important question. What do you need to know before you can set this up? Well, I'm going to make a couple of assumptions. First of all, I'm going to assume that you've already set up conversions either in GA4 itself or in Google Tag Manager. So conversion events are coming into your reports. So to check if things have been set up correctly, we can go into GA4 and we can go into reports. And if you go into the engagement report and you select conversions, you will find if conversions have been set up and if data is coming in. Well, to be honest, my report is a little bit polluted because I use this as an example in many of my trainings. But I see contact form submit, I see training form submit, which is like kind of a lead generator for like live training that I do. And I see session duration, so it means kind of a quality visits. And I see amount of conversion for each important one. So this means conversions have been set up in my account. But right now, if I go into the home screen, I only have the option to see the total amount of conversions. This is not really useful for me because I have different kind of conversions. I have the quality visit, like 5 minutes on the site. I have training form submissions and I have contact form submissions, and each different conversion has its own value. I want to be able to select contact form submission here, but I only get the total amount. So to set up your conversions as separate metrics in GA4, there are just two steps that you need to take. But the first step is dependent on how you've set it up, and there are basically two scenarios. The first scenario is you've set up your conversions from within GA4. The second scenario is you've set up conversion events using Google Tag Manager. Well, I'm going to show you step one for both scenarios. Let's go into scenario one first. So if you've set up your conversion events from within GA4, you should be able to see them here. So we go into events, we go into create event, and this is an overview of all the events that have been made from within GA4. And here you see two of my important conversions, the training form submission, the contact form submission. The other two are just test conversions that I set up during one of the live trainings that I do. If I go into one of them, you'll see the setup that's very common. You'll find this explanation in every video on GA4 that you will find. It's just a custom event name. I called this contact form submit. Event name equals page view, so it only responds to page view events and not to all kind of different events. And then the page location contains just a thank you page. It's really common. So if we want to turn this conversion into its own separate metric, there's one thing we need to do here. We need to click add modification, and then as parameter name, I'm just going to copy the custom event name and I'm going to type _count. So please be careful, you do not make this too long. You have a limit here of 40 characters. I believe we're still under that here. So as parameter name, I'm going to choose the custom event name plus I'm going to type _count. And this is just what I'm used to, my own naming convention. Feel free to do something else. And then as value, I'm just going to type 1. And the parameter name, so this right here, I'm just going to remember this. So I'm just going to copy it into like a little notepad. We need this later. So that's step one in scenario one. So you've set up conversion events from within GA4. The same step applies if you have set up your conversions from within Google Tag Manager. Let's go over that also. So if you've used Google Tag Manager to set up your conversion event, you should be able to find them here. I have my session duration 5-minute conversion right here, which basically represents the quality visits that people perform. So if somebody goes over 5 minutes of reading on my site, we will track this as a conversion. By the way, I've made a video about this. You can find it on my channel. To turn this conversion into its own separate metric, we need to do one simple thing. And it's basically the same as what we just did in GA4, but then in Google Tag Manager. We go under event parameters. I'm going to add a row, and as parameter name, I'm going to copy the event name, and I'm going to press _count. That's what I call it. Again, this is important. I'm going to need this value later, so I'm going to copy it into a small notepad, because again, we'll need this later. And as value, I'm just going to type 1. I'm going to hit save. Do not forget to press submit to push your changes live. So that's step 1. We added a custom parameter to our important conversion. The second step is to add that parameter as a custom metric. It sounds really complicated, but it's really simple, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So we're back in GA4 under admin. To add our important conversion, we need to go under custom definitions and under custom metrics. Now we're going to create a custom metric. I'm going to add my contact form submissions to its own metric. We can add a small description. This is the explanation that you see when you point your mouse into the metric. I find it really useful if I work for clients to provide a little bit of context here. So how many contact forms have been submitted? And then as event parameter, I'm gonna paste in the value that I remembered from step 1. So for the contact form submission, I need to use this event parameter. This is what I set up in step 1. As a unit of measurement, I'm just gonna click standard. We can also go for currency or distance or time. This is just a counter, a simple counter, so it's just a standard unit of measurement. And I'm gonna hit save. I'm gonna do the same for my other conversion. So I'm going to call it quality visits. I'm going to provide a small description. How many users have viewed the site for 5 minutes or longer? And again, I'm going to paste in the event parameter value that I remembered from step 1. Unit of measurement is standard. I'm going to hit save. Now what I should be able to do, under home, you might need to press refresh on this to just reload and make it work. But if you've done that and you go under home, instead of using just conversions as total, you can go under custom and your new metrics should be here. So contact form submit is here. Quality visits is here. You can repeat these steps for every important conversion that you have on your site. The only caveat is that you do not have history on this. So the moment you set this up is the moment you're going to track this. This resolves itself over time, but it's kind of annoying at first. This is why I set this up for every site that I do by default in the initial configuration stage. Well, this is how you go from your total amount of conversions into their own separate counterparts for each individual conversion. There are a couple of handy things to know about this. So before I close the video, I'm going to go over a couple of things. I already showed you how you use these separate metrics in the home screen, but you can also use these custom metrics into their own reports. Let's show that real quick. So for instance, if you're under Explore, and I'm gonna make a new exploration. Let's say we're gonna just make a simple traffic source medium report. I'm gonna say session source medium. Well, by default, you would need your just total amount of conversions. And for instance, users, active users. So by default, you only had the total amount of conversions, which is not really useful. You could make a filter by event name. So we could say event name equals contains contact form submission, but that has also implications for the active users column. The other thing that I would sometimes do is make a pivot table, so you would use event name as columns, but then I needed to filter out exactly the event names that I wanted. Again, this would turn the whole report into an event scoped report, so you cannot use engagement metrics anymore. This is just hard. So I'm gonna call this tab the hard way. Well, now we've set up our important conversions as separate metrics, it's much easier. So I'm gonna call it the easy way. Under metrics, we can just add the custom metrics that we added, so contact form submits and quality visits. Now I can make whatever report I want. So I'm gonna make a report active users, contact form submits, quality visits, which of course still 0 because I do not have history yet. And then as rows, I'm gonna say session source medium. There you go. So I do not have to make complicated filters. I do not have to make complicated pivot tables. They are just there as their own separate metrics. So I just showed you how you turned your conversions, your important conversions, into their own metrics. But you can even do this with your regular events. For instance, if you're tracking button clicks, and these are really important and you need to make a nice report about it, it's very easy to use this technique even on your regular button click events. And the same goes for the standard events that are available inside of GA4. Let me show you how you would use this trick on your file download event. So we're inside of GA4. By default, there is a file download event being tracked on every site. So every time somebody clicks on a PDF document or a Word document, there's a file download being triggered. But the amount of file downloads is not available as its own metric. So if I go into the home screen and if I want to see the amount of downloads that have been performed on my site, because in some cases that's really important information, downloads, it's not available. Well, I can add this by going into admin, going into events, and click modify event. And what I can do, I can modify existing events. So I could say file download. So that's the modified name. Event name equals file download. And what I can do here is I can say file download count equals 1. And again, I need to copy this parameter and save it somewhere because we'll need it later. I'm gonna hit create. And I'm going to go under custom definitions, custom metrics, the same as before. Created custom metric, file downloads, how many files have been downloaded on my site. So I'm going to paste in the event parameter that I just saved from the step before. I'm going to choose the standard unit of measurement and I'm going to hit save. I'm going to hit refresh just to be sure. And if we're going into the home screen, file download should be able, under custom, as its own metric. Of course, again, no history yet, but that will resolve itself real quickly. Please note that there is a limit on how many custom metrics you can add to GA4, but that limit is really generous. You can add up to 50 custom metrics. So because you do not get the history the moment you add it, I recommend that you add as many custom metrics as you need beforehand, even if you're not sure if you're going to use it. Because if you ever run into the limit, it's always possible to just archive custom metrics that you do not use and replace them with the ones that you want to add. That's it for today. This is how you set up separate metrics for each important conversion or even each important event. I hope this video was clear. I hope it was helpful for you. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. Also, subscribe to the channel, leave a thumbs up. That really helps me get this channel off the ground. I hope this video again was helpful. Have a great day and see you in the next video.